we get to that kind of independent adult state where we've got our body awareness, we've got a bit of mental awareness, we've got a bit of emotional awareness, but then we're craving for the soul awareness. We're just knowing there's something lacking, we know there's something missing, and then we search in every direction trying to find this soul awareness because we've not got it anymore. Whereas GU is the mechanism for realigning that. It's the password for realigning our soul awareness with our body awareness, and it's from that point on we can then start to work as manifest souls, which is essentially what we're here to do. We're here to manifest the fullness of our being, which is more than just a mind and emotion and body. We have other aspects at our behest as well, to manifest all of that, and that is literally becoming the Word made flesh. We become GU made flesh. And it goes a bit further than that when we look at what lies behind GU in the rest of my work, but that's a whole different subject. Well, it's not.
Could it not just be a coincidence, a happy coincidence, that all these were, you know, the devil in the detail, and the D evil? Yeah.
Could it be a coincidence? If it was looked at in isolation, yes, it could. But what I've found in my work is that I'm not just saying the word is GU from one point of view. So I can talk about the puzzle of God, devil, good, evil, and how the way out of duality isn't by leaning towards good, but it's about understanding that GU represents never-ending good. I mean, I talk about all our words being spells because we spell all our words. So we spell all our words, that's because all our words are spells. So GU represents never-ending good. And interestingly, if we look at the spell of good and evil, then what comes at the end of good is evil. And if we look at evil as a word, it's the opposite of life, or the opposite of live. That's all it is. These are just very simple descriptions. But my point is that that's just one approach. There are many other approaches that I use which also show that the word is GU, and that this is turned up not just in Western texts, but in texts all over the world as being something of significance, as being there being a word of brotherhood for humanity, a word which represents our unity. It's almost like our word of greeting, our word of acknowledgement to say, yes, you are like me, and that word is GU. Now, the other thing is, again, yes, in isolation. The other work that I've done on the English language and on human language shows that there are rules we use when we're naming things, and it also shows that we've not been aware of it because there are characters and letters which turn up in places that they shouldn't. In my work, what I've managed to show is that these languages like maps for consciousness. Each character or each letter is a consciousness map which has a particular effect. Now, when you look at other word groups and patterns in our language, those also point to the word being GU and point to there being something about particular letters, particular characters, particular word groups. And it's when you look at the whole, it starts to become not just obvious, but why didn't we always see it? How on earth could we not have seen it in the first place? So it might initially look like a coincidence, but it actually isn't. And it's a massive, massive picture that I've only just given you a small fragment of today.
You're talking about it in terms of English. Does it apply to other languages?
It does, but the word, interestingly, the sticking point here is the fact that the word God, the word which is almost correct, happens to be in a language called English. But the word GU is not linguistic. It's pre-linguistic. We can say GU as infants before we've learned any language. The word GU, tribally speaking, in terms of the human species, existed before we had languages. It was our only communicative device. We're talking Og and Zog times here. The interesting thing about languages is we see languages as being different reference to the same thing. So when people are looking to translate, they go like tables to say, okay, you know, in English this word is that, in French it's that, and they're pointed to the same thing. Some words that is the case, but human language is not like that. Human language is actually, they should all be viewed side by side. They're like the human consciousness and human vehicles, full range of interpretation and expression of its environment, and it's a much more complex thing than just looking at a translation device. But the word GU is outside of language anyway. It's pre-linguistic.